While Premier Ford and Minister Surma threw everything in the kitchen sink into their earlier press conference about the Science Centre this morning, I want to take a moment to cut through the noise. Their remarks were centered around a new report which, in the Premier's own words, was commissioned to confirm what the first firm said. The new report that has been publicly released today is 4 pages. It's only 4 pages and probably costs the taxpayer a pretty penny. To put that in context, it's about the same as the number for marks I have up here with me at the podium. That mere 4-page peer review report is why we're here today. And the conclusion of that report says that the Rimkus report, that first engineering report that Infrastructure Ontario used to inappropriately justify the closure of the Science Centre, today's peer review report says that the original report was reasonable, in that it said that fixing and eventually replacing the critical and high-risk panels at the Science Centre is necessary, and that a future roofing assembly replacement would be appropriate to safely extend the lifespan of the building structure. That's what it said. That's all that it said. And Infrastructure Ontario is skimming over this and instead bringing in a whole bunch of other things to try and distract us from that fact. Neither report recommended shutting down the Ontario Science Centre and building a new one. In fact, having read both now, I hear and read the opposite. I hear that saving it is entirely possible and entirely within reach. Now, I trust facts. The engineering reports, the peer review, they're full of them. What I don't trust is this government's spin on the information that only they are privy to. Electrical systems, cooling, elevators, the bridge which we already knew about. The engineers said nothing about these things. And now, coincidentally, all these things also need to be fixed by October 31st. There is nothing that was mentioned today that justified shutting down the Science Centre without notice on a Friday afternoon. What we face at the Science Centre are not at all insurmountable challenges, but the Premier and Minister Surma are doing everything in their power to make them seem insurmountable. In their press conference today, they mentioned these repairs could not be made without closing the Science Centre temporarily. Well, newsflash, the Science Centre is closed now, permanently, and the temporary one won't open for years. So where is the logic in that? If the Premier is so confident in his assessment, which also lines up perfectly with his interests coincidentally, why doesn't he let any of the architects, designers, or construction firms who have offered their services for free to come in and give him their report or do the work? At the end of the day, this is about disentangling what the Premier wants from what is best for Ontario. Financially, it would be less expensive to repair and renew the Science Centre than it would be to build a new one. And doing so is entirely possible. The Auditor General of Ontario has told us that. It will cost $369 million for a full repair of the Science Centre, compared with at least $387 million minimum for a new Science Centre that will be less than half the size. Today's announcement was full of contradictions, including about the need to suddenly and without notice close the Science Centre on a Friday afternoon, which was supposedly because the roof was about to collapse. But now they've changed their story to say it's because of a multiplicity of factors.